Okay, in this problem, we're considering a random sample of 1,019 adults in a certain large country, and they were asked the question, do you pretty much think televisions are a necessity or a luxury you could do without? Of the 1,019 adults surveyed, 522 indicated that televisions are a luxury they could do without. To complete the parts here, in part A, we're asked for the point estimate. And to find point estimate, we're going to take the 522 and divide that by 1,019. And that's where we get this number here, this the 0.512. Now, that's the value of p hat. Q hat is the complement, or 1 minus p hat. So I'm going to go ahead and jot that down over here to the side somewhere. So Q hat is going to end up being 0.488. And then the next part asked us to verify the requirements. So the requirements for constructing a confidence interval about P are satisfied. Well, up here in the very beginning, they tell us that this is a random sample. So that's stated that it's a random sample. And we need to be checking two things. First of all, we want to check this is N times P hat times Q hat. What is that value? So that's where we, to find this value here, we're going to multiply N, which is the 1,019, that's our sample size, times P hat, which was the 0.512, times Q hat, which is the 0.488, and that gives us the value that we see here, the 254.603. So the test is that value, the product, must be greater than or equal to 10. Okay. The other part of the test is the sample size has to be less than or equal to 5% of the population size. And we're looking at adults in a certain large country. So we can feel pretty sure that there's a much larger population than 1,000 in a country of adults. So that's why we're using this fact that it can be assumed to be less than or equal to 5%. And then next we're asked to construct a 95% confidence interval for the proportion of adults in the country who believe that televisions are a luxury they could do without. So to construct this, I'm going to go back to StatCrunch. Okay, so over here in StatCrunch, under Stat, Proportion Stats, one sample with summary. The number of successes that we're considering here is the 522. The number of observations is 1,019. And we're looking at a confidence level, and they told us to use 95%. So we're using 95. And we leave this at the standard wall. And we compute. So here we have our lower limit and upper limit. Okay, let me go back and highlight that. Okay, so as we're pulling this out, our lower limit is this. Oops, sorry. This is our lower limit, 0.482, and our upper limit is 0.543. Okay, so that's where we're getting these two values over here. And then the last part of this says, is it possible that a supermajority or more than 60% in the country believe that television is a luxury? Well, our answer to this is it's possible. It's always possible, but not very likely. Because what happens is that 60% is not in this interval that we have for our 95% confidence interval. So even though it's possible, it's not likely that it contains 0.60 or 60%. I hope this helps.